Hey everyone, welcome back to Almost Expat. Today I'm taking you to Puglia, the sun-baked heel of Italy's boot, where I just finished a deep dive into 50 vineyards. Think of this as my no-fluff field notes from a tech guy plotting a gentle jump into agribusiness. If you've ever daydreamed about swapping spreadsheets for vine rows, pour a coffee, and let's talk about what actually works and where beginners like us can start without lighting our savings on fire. First, a confession. I haven't moved to Italy yet. I'm still the IT person who believes irrigation controllers should have an API. But after going through these 50 vineyards, big, small, scrappy, polished, I'm convinced there's a smart, realistic way in. My personal plan right now, start tiny, about half a hectare, enough to learn the craft, feel the seasons in my bones, and keep the risk sane. So what did I learn? Let's split the Puglia vineyard world into a few business models. They're not just different strategies, they're different lifestyles. The first model, table grape farms. These are the glossy, snackable grapes you see in supermarkets. The vines are high on pergolas, the bunches are big, and the photos look like fruit calendars. It's horticulture with a capital H, intense pruning, thinning, immaculate presentation, lots of labor, and a water schedule tighter than a Swiss train timetable. Yields can be high, and the cash can be good in good years, but prices swing. If half your province ripens in the same hot week, everyone's rushing to sell and the market yawns. It's a volume game with polished logistics. Romantic? Less? Profitable? Can be, if you're ruthlessly efficient and have buyers lined up. Second, bulk wine producers. This is the backbone of historic Puglia, biggie-ish tracts, mechanical harvesters, consistent volumes, grapes sold to cooperatives or large wineries. Margins are thin, like espresso cups and tourist traps. The business is about scale and cost control. If you've inherited land and equipment, it can sustain a family. If you're starting from scratch and paying retail for everything, it's essentially farming on hard mode. Third, boutique and estate wineries. Fewer hectares, lower yields, higher care. Native grapes, Primitivo, Negroamaro, Nero di Troia, lots of personality in the bottle and ideally in the story. This path is craft plus brand. The upside is obvious. You're not just selling fruit, you're selling an experience. The catch? It's a long runway. Quality takes discipline, distribution takes patience, and reputation takes years. If you love the idea of microlots, hand harvest, and meeting the people who drink your wine, this is the path that pays you in meaning first, money later. Fourth, mixed farms with vines. Many families combine a few hectares of vineyard with olives, grains, maybe a guest room or two. Diversification smooths the income bumps. If grapes have a bad year, olives might save the budget, and agritourism can pay for new barrels. It's also the most realistic path for new entrants who don't want to chain themselves to a single commodity price. Which one am I leaning toward for my half hectare? A tiny version of the boutique approach, with the humility to sell grapes or do custom crush while I learn. Translation, I'd love to bottle my own wine, but I won't die on that hill in year one. I'll start with solid viticulture, quality fruit, and realistic cash flow. Now, the big fork in the road. Do you buy a vineyard that's already planted, or do you plant from scratch? Buying established vines is like adopting a teenager. There's history, there are habits, and there's output now. You can taste the fruit, measure the yield, and see the trellis. Downsides? You inherit every decision the previous owner made, good and bad. Wrong clone, weird spacing, tired water lines? They're yours now. For a beginner, an old, well-kept block can be a gift. For a perfectionist, it can be years of, I wish this row was 2 meters to the left. Planting new vines is the clean sheet fantasy. You choose the rootstock, the clone, the spacing, the training system, the irrigation layout. You design it for mechanization or for handcraft. That control is addictive. The catch is time and cash. Young vines are adorable and useless for a couple of seasons. You'll spend money with no revenue while they grow up. If your temperament can handle delayed gratification and your budget can handle a few silent harvests, new planting lets you build exactly what you want. Either way, a few parameters hit every plan like gravity. Water. If you remember one thing today, make it this. Water is not a minor checkbox in Puglia, it's the boss battle. Most vineyards drip, irrigate. Smart ones also meter, monitor, and pray. Drought years can trigger restrictions, wells can dip or get salty, and your beautiful deficit-free irrigation plan becomes a survival plan. If a property listing doesn't clearly state water access, legal well, flow rate, quality, assume chaos until proven otherwise. Budget for filters, meters, maybe a second well. And don't be classy about cisterns. Concrete tanks are sexy when the sky forgets how to rain. Soils and layout. Puglia gives you generous limestone and sun. That's great for structure and reds and for drainage, but it also means fertilization strategies matter. Don't trust your eyes alone. Get a soil test. As for layout, if you ever want to machine harvest or even just mow like a civilized person, row spacing matters. You do not want to be the person who buys a tractor and then discovers the vineyard is a slalom course designed by a poet. Variety choice. If you're starting tiny like me, half a hectare, my bias is to go native. Primitivo and Negroamaro aren't just regional cliches. They're adapted to the heat and water reality. They forgive rookie mistakes better than delicate out-of-towners. If you dream of a white or a rosado, there are local options too, but start with one red that Puglia does brilliantly, then layer experiments later. Mechanization. Bush-trained goblet vines are romantic and make gorgeous, concentrated fruit, but they're labor-hungry. Trellised vines reduce back-breaking hours and make tasks repeatable. With half a hectare, you can baby goblet vines if you enjoy zen pruning. If you plan to scale, consider trellises from day one. Now, everyone asks about money. Let's keep it honest. Land costs vary by fame and postcode. In respected zones, productive vineyard land can be in the tens of thousands per hectare, not hundreds of thousands like Tuscany. That's why Puglia is interesting for newcomers. The entry ticket doesn't look like a luxury yacht. If you plant, you'll pay for vines, posts, wire, irrigation, and potentially planting rights. If you buy, you'll pay more up front, but skip the toddler years. Annual operating costs, even for a microplot, are real. Pruning, sprays, mending the thing that broke in the exact week you didn't need it to break. Revenue? If you sell grapes, you're playing in a commodity market with modest margins. If you bottle and sell, you can create value, but you've now joined the church of sales and marketing. There's no magic shortcut. There's only choosing where you want the work to be, in the field or in the market, or both. What about timing? New plantings generally give you little to nothing for 2 seasons. A starter crop in year 3, respectable fruit around year 4 or 5. If that feels slow, you're correct. This is agriculture. The loading bar moves at botanical speed. Buying established vines shortcuts that, but you'll still need a year or 2 to understand the site's personality before you brag about consistency. Let's talk about my beginner plan in practice, the half-hectare learn and don't burn approach. Why half a hectare? Because it's big enough to be real and small enough to control. I can learn pruning, canopy management, irrigation dances, harvest timing, and basic disease pressure without hiring a small army. I can test workflows, keep clean records, and see what my back thinks about harvest week. Crucially, if something goes sideways, heat wave, hail, me doing something impressively dumb, the financial crater is survivable. If it works, I can replicate the block and scale like a sane person. If it doesn't, I'll have learned more than any certificate program could teach me. I'll also pair the vines with small-scale tech, moisture sensors, a weather station, drip metering. Not because gadgets make wine, but because numbers make problems visible early. I'm the person who wants alerts that say your vines are thirsty now instead of your vines regret to inform you they were thirsty last week. Now, the awkward but important topic. Where do you live while doing this? On agricultural land in Italy, building a new home is not click and collect. In many cases, it's simply not allowed unless you meet strict criteria and the zoning smiles at you. So, I'm facing a real dilemma. Grow vines here, sleep there. Practical options. Rent in the nearest town. Short commute, proper kitchen, neighbors who can teach you the dialect and where to buy tools that don't break. This is the easiest and fastest way to have a pillow while you plant your dream. Buy a property with existing residential rights. Sometimes you'll find a masseria or a farmhouse legally recognized as residential on agricultural land. You still need to verify everything, but you're not trying to conjure a house from zoning thin air. Agritourism path. Complex and not a beginner move, but some properties can be operated as hospitality if they meet regulations. You're basically opening a tiny world for guests to stay, which is both charming and a job. Modular or temporary units. Don't assume a container home solves your problem. Many municipalities consider them structures with rules attached. Ask before you buy a box and find out the box is illegal. A small apartment in town and a serious shed on the farm is often the best first-year combo, and a shed built to code is more valuable than a couch in a van. You'll need storage, shade, tools, and a place to hide when the pump decides to be a philosopher. Let's bring this into a quick decision map for beginners. If you need revenue fast, consider buying established vines, sell the grapes for a couple of years, and learn the site. Parallel to that, build your brand slowly. If you need control and you can afford time, plant a small, well-designed block. Make every meter teach you something. Document obsessively. Iterate. If you hate sales, don't force the boutique dream immediately. Grow great fruit, become the reliable supplier everyone likes, and let your reputation attract partners. If you love hosting people, combine vines with an experience. Puglia is visitor-friendly, and many small producers fund barrels with their tasting room. A word on varieties before we wrap. Puglia's native reds exist for a reason. Primitivo is generous and early ripening. It can take heat and still smile. Negroamaro gives depth and earth and serious rose. Nero di Troia adds structure and intrigue. For a half hectare, pick one you can manage well, then add experiments once you've earned your scars. Finally, let me answer the quiet question behind all of this. Is it worth it? If worth it means quick profit, probably not. If worth it means a life that has texture, days that start with dew and end with a glass of something you grew, then yes, intensely. The main lesson from 50 Vineyards is simple. The winners respect water, keep their costs in check, design for the work they actually want to do, and accept that agriculture pays back in seasons, not sprints. They're patient. They make fewer mistakes twice, and they find ways to enjoy the work even when the pump, the tractor, and the weather collaborate against them. If you're still here, you might be exactly the kind of person who should try the half-hectare experiment. Start small, learn loudly, build slowly, and keep your sense of humor. Puglia rewards people who can laugh, even while untangling irrigation lines that somehow tied themselves into a bow. If you're thinking about changing your life too, if you want to taste a different rhythm, work with your hands, and discover the joy of building something real in a new country, subscribe to the channel and come along for the ride. We'll make mistakes. We'll fix them. And someday, we'll clink glasses made from our own harvest. Until next time, arrivederci, amici. Before you go, tell me in the comments, if you had half a hectare in Puglia tomorrow, would you plant Primitivo, Negroamaro, or a swimming pool, and why?